Well, it's March, right? So that means springtime, rebirth, more light and hope. And of course, it's Women's History Month. And, when we celebrate the vital role of women in Americans' history. Nance, it's ironic to me. We're 50% of our population, but we only occupy less than 1% of recorded history. Now, I'm
Right.
not saying we need to have a 50-50 split there, but I just think there's too many social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women that have been ignored. So I'm glad we're taking a moment to pause and recognize women as we should, especially at this time in history.
Yeah, I agree with you, Barbara. And it's interesting, last week we celebrated International Women's Day. And, I was reflecting on the theme, which was, choose to challenge. But I was thinking about it more so as a call to action rather than just, a theme, a call to action to really accelerate women's equality. And also just to affect change at this time. There are so many women who have gone, before us, whose shoulders we stand on. And, the same is true for this next generation of young leaders who are coming up and who we are encouraging them to stand on our shoulders.
Yeah, I so agree. This pandemic, though, has been a moment in history that has really tested us, the courage and
Yeah,
resilience of so many, and especially women, given the disproportionately negative impact that it's had on women, and especially women of color.
yeah,
I think, of
definitely.
course, those key drivers, what have, that many are calling the she session, is that women had more jobs in the service sector that were cut. And of course, when there's issues and priorities at home, and there's just a general expectation still that women really shoulder more of the childcare and the homeschooling support that have been necessary when schools and other services have been closed.
Yeah.
The stats are a little frightening also. I mean, women lost over 12 million jobs between last February and April, and we've only recovered, I think, less than half, like about 45% of those jobs.
Yeah, exactly. And it's when you think about it, since COVID started, I read a stat that said 865,000 women have stepped out of the workforce because they could not find or afford childcare, and that is just unacceptable. Given where we are, it's just unacceptable. And if you think about the unemployment rate, for example, the unemployment rate right now, on average, for women is, I believe, 6.3. For Black women, it's 8.4. For Latinx women, it's 9.1. And for women with disabilities, it's 11.4%.
Not to forget some of those challenges, but there is so much excitement and positive energy around, businesses opening, schools, really coming back to, I don't know what normal is, but, at least opening up more, but we really do need to pause and really can't let this moment in history be about, the pandemic that set women's careers back. There's so many women during this time, and many unknown sheroes to
Hmm.
acknowledge. I think starting with healthcare workers, 78% of whom in the US are women showing up every day to care for others. I think of my sister who humbles me in the work she does. She's one of those service and healthcare workers who holds the hand of a dying patient while they're Zooming with their family because the family can't say goodbye to them in person.
There are so many heroes that we should be celebrating, and so many women who are making history. Let's start with Kamala Harris. In August of 2020, she was the first Black South Asian woman to accept the vice presidential nomination.
I think of the economist Janet Yellen. Certainly
Yeah,
we all
sure.
know she's the first head of the woman head of the Federal Reserve, and also now Treasury Department.
And then, I think about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Regardless of what you think about her politics, this is a woman who uses her courage and her voice to strongly advocate what she believes in.
And who would have thought that Dolly Parton would have been instrumental in helping us come up with a vaccine for COVID-19.
Shonda Rhimes, who we all know is an uber talented and an award-winning television producer and writer.
Well, a great company that's stepping up is GM under the leadership of Mary Barra, who was the first CEO, female CEO at GM, and also the first woman to lead a major automaker. You know, she, in GM now has ranked extraordinarily high for its gender equality practices. It's one of only 2 global businesses that have no gender pay gap.
Yeah, and I think about, Serena Williams on the tennis court, but also off of the tennis court.
Performers, we have so much gratitude, I do, for Kate McKinnon, who's made a lot of us laugh during this pandemic. And a shout out to Beyonce, who made history with her 28th Grammy Award, and then Taylor Swift's historic accomplishment as the first woman to win Album of the Year 3 times.
I think at this point, everybody knows Amanda Gorman. Amanda Gorman was the poet who recited, The Hill We Climb at Vice President or at President Biden's inauguration. And, I just also want to give a shout out to one other young woman. So I don't know if you know this, Barbara, but Time Magazine last year named its first Kid of the Year.
As we celebrate the accomplishment and courage of these women, we're also reminded at this time in history that we really just need to carry their mantle forward. They advocated for the rights of women, they challenged the status quo, and, that benefits not just women, but really our future generations of women and men.
So where do we go from here? What is it that we can do right now? And I think about, our superpower, Barbara. Our superpower is our strength and our collective strength and our resilience. And when I think about actions, I think about the word ally and allyship, which we're hearing a lot about right now. So here are some ideas that we thought about to share with all of you. So the first is, broaden your network. Seek out women who think differently, look differently, have different life experiences than you do. The other thing is amplify the voices on your team or the voices of women in your community who may be marginalized. And then bring women to exclusive events. If you have an invitation-only event, bring a woman that you don't know with you. The other thing I think about is encourage. Encourage, mentor, listen to, open doors, support women who are not in your circle. And then of course, I think we all agree with this, is buy and invest in women-owned businesses.
I think also, Nancy, on the personal front, I think we need to really set boundaries for ourselves to really improve our ability to say no so we can say yes for the things that matter and really change our narrative. Sometimes we get caught up in negative internal thought and keeping a more positive internal voice because that's what drives our behavior and ultimately our actions and destiny, and to own our power and not give it away so easily.
Yeah, and Barbara, one of the famous kind of mottos of the Women's Forum is that money is power and women need more of both. And so we would encourage all of you out there to create financial resiliency for yourself. And if you want to check out the Women's Forum website, there is, there's so much information out there, but create a financial plan, for those of you who may be feeling uncertain or anxious about your wealth or your financial life. We encourage you to create a financial plan and replace that anxiety and uncertainty with clarity and confidence. And while, this pandemic is a great example that we can't control everything in life, create a life plan as well so that you have a path and some goals that you're looking to accomplish. But just remember to focus on the things that matter and don't focus on the things that you cannot control.
Well, obviously your life and your financial plan are hand in hand, right? They work together. We're excited to have you stay connected with our Women's Forum community that keeps growing, especially with our virtual reach. We have a lot of the details on our website and also recaps and videos of the programs and other videos in case you miss the events. Nancy and I are also just remain committed to having conversations with women and being a voice and a resource to help fulfill our mission to support your personal, professional, and financial success.
Yeah, so if you would join Barbara and me and all of us here at Capstrat, as we celebrate, Women's History Month, and make it a point, especially if there's a woman in your life who has supported you and encouraged you in some way, say thank you. And don't forget to always be your courageous self. Thanks so much for joining us. Here's to Women's History Month.